Hi, this is Ursula again, and welcome back to part 2 of the 12 houses of astrology. Okay, so this is the second part. And the first part we discussed going from house 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now I'd like to talk with you about moving from house 7, 8, and 9. This is the midheaven at the very top of the wheel. 10, 11, and 12. Where we come back again to the ascendant. So it moves this way. So house number 7. Now, when we start talking about these houses above the earth, I have to talk to you about not only the 7th house, but also its opposite. So we're starting to look at these axes. There's 6 of them, right? So each house has a perfect pairing. It's an interesting way that the design of our game, this cosmic game of life, has paired each of the 12 houses. So the partner for the 7th house, which comes in with very Libran energy and is ruled by Venus. So Libra is the scales. The opposite on the other end, and it's important for you to know the opposites, because when we played the aspect game, the idea is to move over to the other side of the axis and try and come to the middle, or a middle agreement to mediate both sides of the axis. So house 7 and house 1 are the partners, okay? They're equal and opposite. Where house 1 in Aries it's all about me, I am, I present, I assert. The 7th house instead is about our significant one-on-one relationships. It's about the we. So instead of me in Aries, it's we in the 7th house of Libra. So if you have any 7th house connections and your soul connections, go write those down, because some of the keywords will be significant relationships such as marriage, business partnerships, could even be therapist-client partnerships. And this house will show us what kind of partner we look for in a significant one-on-one relationship. Okay, so that's house 7 with the vibration of Libra and Venus that is equal and opposite to house 1 of Aries and Mars. Oh, here goes a little something across me. Okay, so our next house is the 8th house. The 8th house. This is a very deep house that has the resonant frequency of Scorpio, really deep. And Pluto is the planetary ruler, the god of the underworld. So pay attention to 8th house soul connections. It's about intimacy. It's about sex. It's about shared resources and shared finances. Could be loans, inheritances. It's also about the occult, the things that are hidden. So sometimes with the 8th house, the mystery could be very strong, or really deep interactions that are psychological. Okay, so if you've got, other people's money in the 8th house of Scorpio, its equal and opposite is the 2nd house of Taurus, which is, these are my resources. And then the 8th house is inheritances or other people's money that you work with, okay? So that's the 8th house, but deep occult mystery. Go find out which fixed stars are associated with your natal 8th house. Okay, we ready? The next one is the 9th house. This is the house that carries the vibration of Sagittarius, who's ruled by the large planet Jupiter. Sagittarius and Jupiter in the 9th house. The 9th house carries keywords that include the big picture, It's a collective mind. It's, Sagittarius is the centaur who's got the bow and arrow and he's aiming really high. So it's long distance travel. It's higher education. It could be this is the writer's house. Some people who like to write books, or if you're destined to be an author, it'll be interesting to see which fixed stars might be there to help support you. Okay, so this is the house where religion, beliefs, and laws also are held. And the opposite house of the 9th, going across the wheel, is the 3rd house, the house of Gemini. So Gemini, Sagittarius. Gemini, chitter, chitter, chatter, chitter, lots of information. Sagittarius, I'm here for the bigger capital T, truth. Early education, higher education, both ends of the spectrum. So the 9th house of Sag, equal and opposite to Gemini. All right, so go find any and all of your 9th house soul connections. Next, we'll look at the 10th house. Okay, so I'm going to show you, here we go. 10th house, and the 10th house is associated with the top of your chart. This is the top. Here's your ascendant. Here's your IC. Here's your descendant. IC is Inum Coeli, something Latin like that. This means root. So this is that guides your ship, your root, the back of your ship, and then up here is the midheaven. So when you see your connections to the midheaven or the 10th house, it is carrying the vibration of Capricorn, the sea goat, who's ruled by the planet Saturn. Okay, so the key words for the 10th house include your public self, your career. Capricorn likes to go step by step up the mountain. They want to be successful. It's about long-term goals, your status, even your public image, your reputation, and even your bosses. So if you want to help a client understand where their vocation is, look at the 10th house. Guide the young ones who aren't sure, what should I study in college? You know, I'm lucky to go to college, but where to guide? Is it this or that? The answers may lie in the 10th house of Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. So opposite the 10th house, right, is the 4th house. 4th house, if you remember, is the house of Cancer, ruled by the moon. So you've got Capricorn and Saturn and Cancer in the moon, equal and opposite. Cancer says, this is my home, this is the shell, this is what nurtures me, this is my foundation. And then Capricorn says, this is how I am out in the world. This is where I want my, contribution and my career to move toward. So take a moment and go look at your soul connections and the fixed stars that happen to be aligned with your 10th house. Okay, 2 more houses. Next is the 11th house. And I love this house. You know why? Because it is carrying the frequency of Aquarius as we move into this Aquarian age. And the planet that rules Aquarius is none other than Uranus. I'm going to pause here for just a moment. I'm back. Okay, so the 11th house, I was saying how I absolutely love this house because it is the Aquarian house ruled by Uranus. It represents the keywords of your networks. It represents your friendship groups, your associations. The 11th house is very humanitarian. It also represents hopes and wishes, the future. It's very futuristic. Visions could be part of your 11th house. But the reason I like the 11th house so much that I want to share it with you is because this is where the galactic or our ET family, those off planet, if you have alignments to the 11th house, underscore them. Really tune in to the fixed stars and star nations associated with your 11th house. Very exciting. So the equal and opposite to the 11th house is none other than the 5th house. The 5th house is, if you remember, ruled by Leo and the sun. So Leo is all about personal expression. I create, I am here. And yet the 11th house says, we work together for the greater good. We work in networks. The 11th house is also the house of the internet and social media. Isn't that interesting? So a lot of what we're doing in Julia's class is just trying to build a global galactic community. Thank you, 11th house. Okay, last house to talk about. So make sure to write all your soul connections in each house. Is the house that carries the frequency of Pisces. And the planetary ruler is Neptune. Okay, keywords for the 12th house, which is, again, the soul has made it all the way around. The 12th house is the culminating house. So where this was birth, this is like, woohoo, the end, as far as like you've collected all that wonderful information and experiences around the wheel. And in the 12th house, we're looking now at the subconscious. I like to look at the 12th house as the ocean, because you've got the Piscean double fish, one's going this way and one's going that way. And so I think of the ocean, that I've traveled around the wheel, and now anything in my 12th house, it's like, it's where Carl Jung would talk about the subconscious, okay, the 12th house. It's a house that could also represent karma, the afterlife, and I would say future life. And Julia can add in here too, because whenever she talks, it's about past lives and future. So my bet would be we look at our 12th house soul connections to maybe look at what the planets and aspects are to understand where we may be going and where we've come from. And if it's all in quantum, it's all happening now. Well, I don't want to get too far ahead. But if we look at the keyword for the 12th house as the collective soul, there is a devotion in Pisces to higher ideals, to spiritual values. It's also a place where I read you can overcome ghosts. Overcoming ghosts. That kind of helps understand that that's probably where the 4th dimension and the 3rd dimension might, you know, have this kind of little threshold or opening. Someone also wrote that the debts are the karma or the debts of our past. The past lives are in the 12th house. Well, and you might read that it's about institutions like hospitals, mental hospitals, prisons. Neptune and Pisces, you know, we're preferring to be hidden. But it may be because we're so attuned and sensitive to everything around us, and we're assimilating all those other 11 houses that, you know, I need some solo time, alone time. But here's the equal and opposite axes, the 12th house with the 6th house. And if you remember, the 6th house was the house of Virgo, who's ruled by Mercury. Okay, so Virgo is about day-to-day service, manifesting. This is my work. This is my body. Boom, boom, boom. And the opposite side is Pisces, 12th house, which is I'm dreaming, I'm floating, I'm not here. And so if you put 12th and 6th house together, Virgo, Pisces, you might be able to bring that which is in the other realms into matter, earth, Virgo, water, Pisces, and bring them together. Well, I hope this was helpful for you. It's just the beginning of a conversation, because some folks were really excited about, let's talk about the houses next. And I will say, when we learn about the 5 pillars, there could be more, but the 5 pillars to help us really become professional practitioners. Let me read them out to you. We did the aspect game. We're talking about the houses. Next, we could talk about the planets. And then, of course, there's the signs. But the 5th one is the fixed stars. And so it's easy to get lost in one of them, but looking at the 5 pillars, again, aspects, the houses, the planets, the signs, the 12 signs of the zodiac, and then the fixed stars. So we've got a lot to learn, a lot to share, and I would love to know your feedback on how you sit with the houses. This coming Wednesday, we will have a chat room open so we can talk and learn from each other about the houses. Okay, that's all I got, and bye for now.